tank of gas? Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? I ain't preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the scar. You can dress up a lie, but it won't get far. They call it toxic when it burns your tongue. I call it true when it's finally sung. Got a dog-eared Bible of the things they hide, and a match for the curtains, let the daylight shine. You want comfort? Son, you missed your turn. This road's called real and the edges burn. Honesty don't whisper, it kicks down doors. So brace yourself for what the jukebox is for. This is FAFO, holler it loud. Fuck around with fiction, get the facts drawn. Getting triggers just the cost of the crowd. We're toxic to the lies, truth we're proud. This is FAFO, no smooth talk, no vow. You brought your stories, we brought the real. Now run your mouth and meet the South down. Fuck around and find out, burn it down. Muddy water don't care about your brand new shoes.
Good morning, Outlaws, and welcome to the FAFO podcast. This Monday morning show, we've been off a week. Well, I know we've been off about a week. Took the whole week off. Need to wind down a little bit. Took a little bit of a vacation or a staycation more than anything else. But we're starting off in great fashion today. This is our in memoriam show because a lot's happened over the last week, especially over the last few days. It's been kind of crazy. So in true FAFO fashion, Today's going to be a little bit of a hodgepodge. Some stories are going to be tragic. Some are bizarre. Some might make you laugh because you honestly don't know what else to do. But we're talking about the Yellowstone tourist who discovered why park rangers keep telling people to stay away from bison. Like, there's a reason you do that. And I got to say, through no fault of their own, probably on this one, I'll let you decide. We're talking about that. We're talking about the death of Senator Lindsey Graham, the sudden death of him, and what comes next politically. We're also going to talk about the passing of actor Sam Neill, one of my favorite actors. Just love watching this guy's work. His work has entertained generations of movie fans. I mean, if you watch movies of any kind, at some point you've come across Sam Neill. Plus, we'll go over. Look, it's been one of the biggest things in the news here lately: the preliminary hearing of Tyler Robinson, the alleged assassin of Charlie Kirk. We're going to talk about that. So much more. How are you guys doing? Hope you had a great week. Mike, what's up, buddy? How are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Good to see all you guys and gals back here. Woo. So my first stream in over a week, man. Yeah, my first stream in over a week. Got to get back. Now, I did a couple of interviews. I had some interviews lined up that I had to do. Because when you schedule an interview, you kind of got to step up and do those. So I've had some of those on the FAFO podcast. If you haven't heard them, go check them out. Because you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music. Go check those out, man. We have some great episodes out there. Well, we're going to do some interesting ones at that. There were some real interesting interviews that I got to do that I was pretty fascinated with, and I got some real interesting ones coming up. So I'm excited about that. One later on this week. Now, once again, I will not be here tomorrow because Jen has surgery. So I know we just got back, but tomorrow's surgery day, so we have to be at the hospital at 5 a.m., which means they got to get up by 3:30 to get ready to leave here by 4 to make that hour-long trip. And we'll be there all day. So tomorrow's going to be it's a no-go tomorrow. But I couldn't. I had to come today. I was like, do I just wait till Wednesday, or do we come back here today? So we're starting today. I had to. It's a Monday. Yeah, I feel good. I'm down 21 pounds, and I'm feeling great. Feeling great. I was Jones for FAFO. I'm glad you were, Mike, because I was too. I've been looking forward to get back on here and doing these episodes. So we're excited. We're excited. Our numbers for the FAFO podcast are climbing, folks. Boy, we had a strong finish to June. I was so excited about how June ended up. What a great way to finish out that month. And so we're looking to see what we can do this month. Keep growing it, keep sharing it, keep liking it, whatever y'all want to talk about. If you want to be a part of the show, if you want to be interviewed on the show, you got something that you want to talk about, stuff that you do, hobbies, whatever you used to do in your life. If you're older, if you're younger, what you're aspiring to, what you're working on, anything. All you got to do is hit me up and we'll set it up, because we don't have to just do this live. If you need to be interviewed at whatever time and you want to do this, then we will set it up. We'll record that interview, and then we'll release it as its own individual episode. That's how we do it, because I want you to have a place to voice whatever it is that interests you. And that's what the FAFO podcast is. It's for everybody, man. Just voice whatever you're going to voice, and let's go. I'm giving you the platform to do that, because it's fun. Like I said, I've interviewed some interesting people here lately, and we've got those up. Go check them out. Go listen to them. And we got some really interesting people coming up. So that's going to be fun too. And that's kind of the thing. I know some people, I got this one deal. So one guy said he just couldn't come on the podcast because we branded ourselves with obscenities. And I understand that. I understand that from that point of view, that, hey, you're FAFO, you must be an obscene podcast. That's really not true. Like, if you come on my podcast as an interviewee, how that podcast goes is entirely up to you. If you want to swear, you can. If that is not your bag, that's fine too. I can adapt to anything. And that's how I do it. And that's how I always do it. I always cater to my guests, because to me, it's their time. And I'm not going to sit here and do anything that is going to cause something untoward for them. I want them to have a good time and talk about whatever we're going to talk about as far as they go. Because we don't need to talk about me. We need to talk about them. And that's how I treat all my guests. So if you're on the fence about whether or not, this is going to be one of those crazy shows and that's not how this works. FAFO, let me explain this real quick before we get into the heart of the show. FAFO simply means nothing's off limits in what you want to talk about. If you don't want to talk about certain things, we don't. If you want to talk about just these things, that's what we'll do. It's up to you. Other people may feel differently, and so the episode they're on, that will be a different thing. All right, it's because all these things can exist in the same sphere at once. Right? You don't have to have just separate little individual things for each one of these. You don't have to do that. And your particular interview will be its own little thing. You want it crisp and clean, no caffeine? That's fine. We'll do that. You want all the juice? Oh, we'll do that too. We will do that too. So I hope that clears that up a little bit. So I don't want everybody thinking we're just a swear fest where we just get on here and just do whatever. Is Mitch dead? Talk about Mitch McConnell. He looks like a Muppet in his hospital bed. I mean, who knows, man? They've been keeping that a secret. I was really shocked about Lindsey Graham last night, because he was just over in Ukraine, just came back, just talked to the president, and all of a sudden, bam. What do they call it? Aorta dissection or something like that, as far as Lindsey Graham goes. So I'm not sure. Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully we'll get some answers behind Mitch McConnell. I mean, because who really knows there what's kind of going on? Because I'm not sure, honestly, to be 100%. I have no idea. No idea. Well, let's get into it. Segment 1. Look, I'm going to play this for you here in just a second. I'm going to play this for you, because here's the thing. And when I did this and I set this up, here's the thing about it. When you're in Yellowstone or one of these parks right here, there are rules you go by. Now, from everything I've seen on the video, I thought that the poor old fella who got attacked here, I felt like they were absolutely going by the rules. I mean, this bison strayed into the picnic area. It's not like they were seeking it out. They were just walking down, and all of a sudden, oh, look, what's that bison doing over there? Well, we're staying on this side. So I don't blame the old man and the grandson for this. I don't blame them at all, because they were just walking by. They tell you to stay at least 25 yards away. They were at least 25 yards away. That's only 25 feet away. Yeah. Stay at least 25 yards away from a bison, right? So that's pretty good. That's like 2.5 first downs in football. So they were a good distance away from it. They weren't up close. They weren't trying to get a better picture. They were far away from it because you could tell the grandfather was like, that looks sketchy. That's a big monster. We're staying over here. So I really don't blame the grandfather. I've heard some things like, why are they up there with the animals? They did not approach this bison. And there was another video a lot of people didn't see about this bison being inside the camp already. And I'm going to play both of these for you so you can see yourself. Now, the video that I have for those of you who are just listening to this podcast, I will narrate it as best I can for you. All right, as this happens. But you understand when you see this video, when you watch this thing, you understand why, though, there's all these warnings about don't approach the wildlife. Yes, they look nice and big and sweet and little teddy bear type animals, but they're not. These are wild animals still. You don't know what kind of day they're having. You don't know what kind of day these animals are having. I saw a thing that said, my friend has a bison, and when the tail is wagging, trouble is imminent. When that tail is straight up, it's too late. And when you watch this video, you're absolutely going to understand why that is the case. Because here's the thing. You see these idiots all the time go to these parks. There's a lot of idiots running around this world. We see them way too much. This old man wasn't one of those, but there are some that always thinks that they're the ones that aren't going to get things. You can warn them. You know, yeah, but I'm different. Not going to happen to me. And then it does. Because no, you're not different. You're just an idiot. All right. So let's just be clear. And again, just to be clear, because I can't say this enough, because I've seen the comments already about this old man. Well, they shouldn't have been that close. They're over. No, they weren't. If you watch the video, there's no way you sat there and look at that and go, they were aggravating. No, they weren't aggravating the bison. They weren't. Matter of fact, the bison went after the truck first and then turned and looked at that and said, oh, I see victims right here. Lunch, let's go. Because you have to understand, Yellowstone isn't Disneyland, folks. Mickey Mouse doesn't weigh a ton and launch tourists into orbit. A bison will. As cute as you think they may be, a bison will absolutely do that. So the first video I'm going to show you, the first one I'm going to show you is the one of the bison in the camp. All right. They were warned earlier. Let me show. I'm going to pull this all the way up on the screen so you can see it. Check this out. And you hear, I'll play it a couple times so you can hear it. It's only a 7-second clip. Let's roll it.
Everyone is bison. Look out, a bison.
Woo!
Look out.
That's a monster.
Everyone is bison. Look out, a bison.
There it is.
Look out.
That is 2,000 pounds of I'm not happy running loose through a camping area. They're not in its area. It came into the camp. So that's another point we've got to be clear on. This bison came into the human area. Look at it. That thing is massive.
Look out, a bison. Look out.
Yeah. You're like, no, I don't want any part of that. Well, I guess not. I don't either. And then that leads us to the main event. Right, to what happened here. And that's the longer, that's the video I want right there. That's the one. Yeah, we'll do that one. That one shows the whole thing. All right, so let's take a look at it. Now, this is the one, again, there's no sound on this one. I think a professional videographer actually took this. So we'll watch it. I'll narrate it. There might be some other ones out there that actually have sound on them. I haven't seen those. But let's check this out. Let's check this bad boy out right here. Because at the start of this thing, you can see over here to the left side, you got the old man and the kid that at first I legitimately thought was a girl at first. Turns out it was the grandson. But you can see them looking at this bison. And this bison's in the picnic area. All right, you see the picnic happening right here. Little fire right there on the ground. You know, picnickers doing what picnickers do here in Yellowstone. And you see the bison just, and I guess humans who don't know are looking at this bison going, oh, look at him. Look how cute he is. Look at him over here just getting in the dirt like a dog, just rubbing himself, having a good time. Now watch his tail. His tail here in a second is about to start flickering. And you can see, and I'll stop it real quick, you can see on the opposite side, the old man and the grandson are way away from him, keeping their distance. They're not trying to get up on this thing. Now, the old man does one thing here. It's nothing threatening, but he does one simple thing. He stops and takes a picture, which anybody's going to do. Anybody's going to do this, but he's not posing with the thing. Check this out. So here he is. He's walking. The grandson gets the picture. Hey, I'm going to see Grandpa. Look at that. Oh, yeah, let me get one right there. That's a good one. I got that pic. And you see the buffalo or the bison rolling in the dirt. Now his tail starts wagging. Now, like I said earlier, the man said that when that tail starts twitching like that, there's imminent trouble coming. Watch this. Now you see this truck coming up, and that buffalo sees the truck. He comes right after the truck. And then he misses. He stops. He goes across the road, and then he'll stop here, and then he sees the old people. He goes right after them. Oh, he didn't even stop. That's right. So he's playing Ring Around the Rosie in these trees, right? Which is wild. Look at this. Around and around we go. The old man's running for dear life. The other boy's so skinny, he just got lost. Bison didn't see him. He's lost in the woods. And you see the people up here in the foreground watching this happen. You see this girl right here on the right of the screen. They're watching this happen. And this is wild. The old man's trying to get away. And this is terrible. And the buffalo is just wreaking havoc on this tree. I think the old man missed his opportunity here to really make some, to really scatter a little bit, maybe deeper into the woods behind those bigger trees. But he didn't take it. The buffalo sees him again. Oh, I think the buffalo sees him where he sees that white car coming up. And then he sees the old man moving. And he darts back off between these trees. And this old man, remember, he's 65. You can barely see him right here, barely in front of this bison. Right, the dust is being kicked up. Here he is bumping through, and right here, he ain't going to make it. He's not getting the safety at this point. There's no, and he had to know too, like, oh no. And then pop, point of impact. Gored him. When I say gore him, he hooked him with his horn. Up in the air, this man goes, bam. Oh my God, hard to watch. Because you're 65 years old. That's hard to watch when the guy's 35 years old, but 65, and you're being thrown up in the air like that, and the bison just standing over you like, now what? And all that man can do is lay there, and thank God the bison didn't go after him anymore, because what you don't see on this video is that the rest of the crowd comes rushing up because they see the man go down. You see the bison's agitated, head bobbing up and down, and what you don't see again is the rest of the people coming to help this poor old man. They run the bison off. All right, they get the bison out of there. And that's tough. Dude, that's so tough. That is tough to look at. And like I said, I didn't see one. No, somebody put music to that. That's not what we're looking for here. So and I was curious. Now there's not. There's got to be. So I'm curious as what the man says here, because now we're seeing different things. I gotta check the update on the old man, because I heard he was in serious and critical condition. And I need to know because I'm curious. I mean, that's a bison. Tossed this man in the air like a rag doll. So apparently his name is Carl Issa McDaniel. He suffered multiple broken bones. I'll bet he did. But he made a lot of the attack even as he waited for a park ambulance to arrive. According to the professional photographer who captured the now wildly viral moment we just watched. He was in a lot of pain with his leg, and otherwise he was conscious the whole time, in good spirits and joking. He probably was joking, happy to be alive. But that is tough. That is tough. I mean, you could tell the Bison was agitated. And dude, that's wild. That is wild. So there you go. As soon as it happened, they said they put the camera down and ran at the Bison, pumping my arms up and down, yelling at the top of my lungs and jumping up, trying to look big and distracting. So you had a group of people doing that, trying to get them away from there. Finally, the Bison leaves, like, okay, maybe these people are a little nuts. So, I mean, there you go. I thought that, again, park regulations require visitors to keep their distance from Bison. They say give them at least 75 feet, which is about 25 yards, like we talked about earlier, which they did. They had plenty of room. They were staying away, and this Bison just did not care. It had zero F's to give, and it went after them. Dude, y'all got to be careful. If you're out here amongst all these things and these beasts out here, you got to be careful. Be careful. Don't sit out there and get hooked by one of these monsters. Don't do it. Folks, you got to be more careful. You got to. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, we have to turn our attention elsewhere. Man, I woke up this morning and got the news that Sam Neill passed away. And I absolutely love Sam Neill. You know Sam Neill. If you ever seen Jurassic Park, especially the original, you know Sam Neill. Yeah, Dr. Alan Grant in a movie that changed movies forever when Jurassic Park came out. Now, I'd seen him earlier, Captain Borden in The Hunt for Red October. If you've never seen The Hunt for Red October, you should. Sean Connery's in it. It's so good. But he's been in everything. Event Horizon on the Piano, Peaky Blinders, Hunt for the Wilder People. I mean, he's been in dozens of movies. You've seen Sam Neill in something. And this man, he's a New Zealander, right? And he always brought intelligence to every role. And he was never that loud actor. He wasn't flashy. He simply disappeared into the character. And that's extremely difficult to do. And I think the other thing people loved about Sam Neill is that that off screen, he was exactly the opposite of a Hollywood stereotype. He loved his vineyard. He loved his farm. He posted videos with ducks and pigs and cows and sheep. And he joked with fans constantly. And he seemed like a genuinely grateful guy, and especially grateful for the career he had. And I think one of the saddest things about his passing is that earlier this year, he shared that he was cancer-free. He'd been fighting blood cancer for a while. He was cancer-free. But here's the thing. Life has a funny way of reminding us that tomorrow is never guaranteed. And it's so terrible. And Laura Dern came out talking about her castmate and her friend. And it was sad. And several others have come out. And it's just a sad thing because I absolutely loved, again, one of my favorite actors. I knew if Sam Neill was in something, I was probably going to enjoy myself, at least when he was on screen. And I was so happy when Jurassic World Dominion came out and he reprised his role as Alan Grant. Never missing a beat. Never missing a step. And you know what? Yeah, did Hollywood lose one of its true gentlemen this week? It absolutely did, but so did the rest of the world. What a great human being. I love Sam Neill. And these celebrity deaths can hit you hard. And I'm curious, for any of you guys out there, which celebrity death affected you the most? Which one really just affected you in ways that you still think about? One of the ones that affected me the most in my life, there's been two of them. Elvis, of course, when I was 7. But then Brandon Lee in 1993. That affected me greatly. And I always try to imagine the career he would have had. because I was so infatuated with Brandon Lee, being the son of Bruce Lee, because I was really into Bruce Lee, martial arts. So naturally, when Brandon got older and he started his acting career, I was infatuated with him. I thought, here's a cool guy that has a huge career. I'm excited about it. And then all of a sudden, he's gone. And that's tragic, man. That's tragic. It's a hell of a thing. And so those are things you wonder about, right? Back to the comments real quick. I want a Bison burger now. I swear. Right. He had cancer, talking about Sam Neill. He did. And beat it. And yet here we go. And that leads me into the surprising death of Senator Lindsey Graham, who was just in the Ukraine. Gets home, talks to the president, and then all of a sudden, just hours later, he's dead. Suddenly, without warning, no sickness. So let's throw politics aside. I'm not interested whether you're left or right now. Let's talk about Lindsey Graham for a moment, because a political era has come to an end. Whether you agree or disagree with this man, a political era has come to an end. 71 years old. So they call it a aortic dissection, is what was which is related to what coronary cardiovascular disease. So whether you loved him, you couldn't stand him, or somewhere in between, you knew who Lindsey Graham was. You've heard of him. If you watched any kind of media, any kind of news, you knew who Lindsey Graham was. And for nearly 3 decades, he was one of the Senate's most influential voices on military affairs, on national security, judicial confirmations, and foreign policy. And his career also showed just how much politics can change, because he was once one of Donald Trump's harshest Republican critics during the 2016 campaign. And then later, he becomes one of Trump's most closest allies. Now, some call that loyalty. Others called it political survival. Either way, it demonstrated how unpredictable Washington can be. And one thing I think is important during moments like this, we should be capable of separating disagreement from basic human decency. You don't have to celebrate someone's politics, but death shouldn't become a team sport. And too often today, it is. You see the ugly side of humans, of what I call trash people. And I'm sorry, if you celebrate the death of somebody because you disagree with them, you're a trash human being. You're straight trash. Because what the hell did you get out of that? Look at the kind of person it makes you out to be. Yeah, you're just a trash human being. And that's not healthy. If you can't show basic respect for another human life, politics has something far uglier than disagreement. It's become something far different. Because now the political questions begin, right? Like, who fills the seat? What happens to committee leadership? How does this affect balance inside the Senate? The body is not even cold yet, and they're already asking these questions. Why? Because life goes on. And it's the harsh truth of it all. And flags are flying at half mast right now. Trump had talked about, he gave his statement on Lindsey Graham. And like I said, when it started out, they were bitter rivals. And Trump said his moment on Brett Kavanaugh was one of the classics, I think, in the history of the Senate. I think that saved, because Graham had argued that Kavanaugh was being treated unfairly. And Graham rightfully lashed out at Democrats in response. And Trump said, I think that saved Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court ascension. Lindsey did a thing there that I think nobody else could have done that. And so, and most people would say this too. And I think Trump said this. He said, if I had a really big problem with a certain Democrat, Lindsey Graham could work it out. And that's something most Republicans can't do. And so I think you lost. Trump said he's going to be appreciated more now than when he was living. And that's sad. We see that a lot. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough. And again, talking about where their relationship started to where it was at right there at the end of Lindsay's life. And it's sad. It's terrible. And it goes back to what we talked about with Sam Neill. You just never know when that moment is going to come. And again, he had just been into Ukraine, just gotten back from Ukraine. And it's a hell of a thing. And life is like that. Life is like that. You just don't know. I saw this big uproar about Conor McGregor in the fight this weekend, him going down with this leg injury and what happened there and all of that. And there's whatever with that, right? There's whatever with that. Who agrees with what happened there? Who believes it's a thing? But things happen. Usually in the most inopportune time. But they happen. And you can argue any time is the most inopportune time for something bad to happen. But it's just what happens. Mike says, John Lennon, I was a huge Beatle fan in 1980 when Howard Cosell broke the news on Monday Night Football and went straight to my Beatle collection. Right? Talking about the death that hit you hardest. Celebrity death. There you go. That was a big one. That was a big one. But I was never a big Beatles fan. I was just infatuated with the whole, how can people do this thing? I mean, again, wild stuff. Wild stuff. But let's move on from death for a minute. Let's move on from death for a minute. Because we did get some new UFO releases. Right, the Pentagon released some new UFO files, some wild ones. There's like 40 additional new records out they just released a few days ago. Cool videos, photographs, stuff you haven't seen yet. Now, still no alien bodies. Still no confirmation of aliens. But it's still fascinating that they're releasing all this stuff. And I love it because you're still getting inside looks at some of these pilots that says, hey, I've seen some stuff that I still can't explain. It's unlike anything I've seen and have ever seen. I mean, these are experienced military pilots coming out saying this. Their careers revolve around identifying aircraft. And yet here they are saying this stuff. So it's cool. Like the 6-pointed star-shaped object over the Yellow Sea, that's cool. You know, what is it? Is it alien? Is it some new vehicle? What is that thing? Is some cool new drone? What is it? Because, of course, you're going to have your people say it's conventional explanations, and it may very well be. But I just love thinking about what if. What if? What if it is something else? And I love the fact that we're at least acknowledging these things, that we're releasing files and allowing the public to examine all these videos and reports. Because they're also saying something else when they do this, like, oh, we don't know what every one of these objects is. We have no idea exactly what we're looking at here. And that's where the internet loses its collective mind. Because one side's going to immediately say, aliens confirmed. And the other side's going to say, it's all balloons. It's all balloons. And reality is probably somewhere in the middle. I mean, most cases almost certainly have ordinary explanations. We know that. They could be camera artifacts. I suppose they could be weather balloons and drones. Absolutely. Optical illusions. We know that happens. Experimental aircraft. Absolutely. Misidentified natural phenomena. Sure. But here's one thing that history tells us that happens all the time. There are also cases involving multiple sensors, trained observers, radar returns, infrared imagery, and military personnel that remain unresolved because there simply isn't enough information to identify them with confidence. That's why they're called unresolved. Unresolved does not automatically mean extraterrestrial, folks. It doesn't. It means investigators don't have enough evidence to reach a firm conclusion. So when you say, oh my, I saw a UFO, doesn't mean you saw an alien from outer space. It means you saw an object flying in the sky that's unidentified. They call them UAPs now. unidentified aerial phenomenon. Means basically the same thing, but they're trying to take that stigma of the UFO title off of it. And honestly, that's okay. Science has always advanced by admitting that we don't yet understand things. And here's where I think the conversation gets interesting. When you believe these objects are, whether you believe these objects are like foreign technology, secret American programs, sensor errors, natural phenomena, or something just far stranger, the fact remains the governments around the world are taking these reports much more seriously than they were 20 years ago. Think about that. That's a major shift. The Pentagon isn't treating UAPs like a joke anymore. They're treating them as potential intelligence and national security issues until they're identified, as well they should. And that alone should make people pay attention. Because if something is operating inside restricted military airspace, it matters. Now, whether it's from another country, another government, or somewhere we haven't even considered, one thing I do appreciate about these releases is the transparency now. Now, I say that with this caveat. Who knows what they're not releasing? I'm throwing you conspiracy theory guys a bone. Who knows what they're actually not releasing? Because you got to believe there's probably some things. Just saying. Because here he goes. For years, people wanted the files. And now they're getting them. Maybe not everything. And probably not every classified report. But it's far more than we've had before. And that gives what researchers, skeptics, aviation experts, ordinary people the opportunity to examine the same material and debate it together personally. Personally, I don't know what all these objects are. And I don't think anybody should pretend they do. But I love the thought of what if. And if someone tells you they've solved every case, they're probably selling a book or a documentary or both. Speaking of, you can get Black Ridge right now on Amazon. You want to talk about aliens, abductions, and all that good stuff, Men in Black. It's a great read. The reviews are coming in, and they've been all positive. So hop over to Amazon, get Black Ridge now. You won't be disappointed, I promise you. But the smarter position is simple. Stay curious, guys. Follow the evidence. Don't believe everything. Don't dismiss everything. And just remember, history is full of mysteries that eventually have found perfectly ordinary explanations, but it's also full of discoveries that completely changed the way humanity understood the universe. We simply don't know yet which category every one of these cases belongs in. And that's important. Because here's the FAFO lesson in this. Because sometimes the smartest answer isn't I know. Sometimes it's I don't know, but I'd like to find out. Curiosity built airplanes. Curiosity put men on the moon. Now, I know some of you believe we never went to the moon, but you know what I'm saying. But curiosity is also how we separate facts from fiction. The government's finally admitting there are things in the sky they can't identify. That doesn't prove it's aliens, but it sure makes one hell of a conversation. So that brings us to the final segment today, and I was wondering whether or not I should even talk about this today or wait till tomorrow. Before we do that, I'm going to go to the comment section. We're going back to the Conor McGregor thing. The best part was that Sophie Cunningham was the card girl at MMA, did her famous finger point. That was awesome. That was awesome. America has fallen in love with Sophie Cunningham. That is crazy. Because of Caitlin Clark and her defense of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham has made herself an absolute star. An absolute star. You hear Dana White talking about her after the show. How did you get her to become a ring girl? She says, you want to walk around the ring? I got you. Here you go. And Sophie was all for it. It's amazing. It's amazing. Quite frankly, it's just fascinating how that happened. But she's an absolute star right now. Think what you want. Sophie Cunningham is a true star. And the WNBA itself is stupid. And I'm talking about the leadership of the WNBA or lack thereof. That's a whole nother conversation we'll have this week. Trust me, we'll have that conversation this week too. But let's talk about this Tyler Robinson preliminary hearing. Because this is probably the biggest political murder trial in a generation. And no matter where you fall politically, and I said this kind of earlier, killing somebody and laughing at somebody's death over political beliefs is stupid, it's trashy, and it's the worst kind of human being. And if you're that human being, get the F out. Because it's the worst. That tells me so much about a person's character here. And this case has become one of the most closely watched criminal proceedings in America. I mean, this week marked the conclusion of the 5-day preliminary hearing, just a preliminary hearing to see if there's enough here to go to trial for Tyler Robinson. He is the man accused of assassinating conservative commentator Charlie Kirk during a public event at Utah Valley University in September 2025, September 10th to be exact. And I remember that day. Remember being at the gym when the news came in. So this hearing wasn't a trial to determine guilt or innocence. All right. It was simply held to determine whether prosecutors have presented enough evidence for the case to proceed to full trial. And Judge Tony Graff is expected to rule after receiving final written arguments. While this takes us all the way into September to do that is mind-boggling to me. We're at the very start of July. You've heard everything. It takes you 2 months. You've seen all the evidence and heard it. Why 2 months? This is the thing that really aggravates you about our judicial system. And maybe there's a legal reasoning for this. All right. But I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't work in the court system. I couldn't tell you. So for anyone unfamiliar, though, with the legal process, and I had to look all this stuff up because I didn't know. A preliminary hearing has a much lower standard than a criminal trial does. Right? Like the prosecution doesn't have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. They simply have to convince the judge there's enough evidence that a reasonable jury could hear the case. That's what a prelim trial is. So think of it as the legal system asking one question: is there enough to go to trial? Not did he do it? Is there enough that we can go to trial with this? And those are two very different questions. And this week, the prosecution laid out what they say is a compelling case. And one of the biggest moments involved the DNA evidence. But to me, it was not the biggest moment, but it is one of the big moments. Right, a Utah forensic analysis testified that DNA recovered from the alleged murder weapon and cartridge was overwhelmingly likely to belong to Tyler Robinson. According to the testimony, the DNA profile was estimated to be at least 1 trillion times more likely if Robinson was one of the contributors than if it came from unrelated individuals. Now, DNA is powerful evidence, but it isn't the whole case. The prosecution also presented surveillance footage, witness testimony, and evidence placing Robinson near the scene. They argued these pieces taken together pointed towards a politically motivated assassination. And listen, you had Robinson's lover, Lance Twiggs, his testimony. Boy, have you seen this testimony? I mean, this is Robinson's former roommate and romantic partner here. He had a lot to say. A lot to say. He did. Investigators played a recorded interview in which Twiggs described Robinson returning after the shooting and expressing regret. Twiggs also testified that Robinson discussed turning himself in, and prosecutors presented evidence they say included incriminating text messages. Twiggs testified under an immunity agreement. Now, the testimony immediately became one of the most debated parts of the hearing. Of course it did, because supporters of the prosecution say it's devastating. Now, supporters of the defense question whether an immunity agreement affects credibility. Not necessarily. To me, what that means is that, hey, I'll tell you everything you need to know as long as you don't prosecute me for knowing what I knew and what was talked about before. Because then you're free to tell all the truth. And so those are the kinds of issues juries are ultimately likely asked to weigh, right? The defense, for its part, didn't simply sit back. They aggressively challenged the government's forensic case. They questioned the reliability of the parts of the DNA analysis, disputed aspects of the ballistic evidence, and argued investigators failed to adequately pursue alternative suspects or explanations. Earlier filings also pointed to an ATF report that could not conclusively match the fatal bullet fragment to the alleged rifle, though prosecutors argue their case does not rely on that evidence alone. Another major topic throughout the week wasn't just the evidence, it was the attention. Because you have people reportedly camped outside this courthouse overnight, hoping to secure one of only a handful of public seats outside. I mean, you had national media, live streamers, and independent journalists flood the area. I watched B. Tatum. I love B. Tatum. I watched his streams and his reporting from there the whole week. They turned the proceedings into the most closely followed criminal hearings in recent memory. And court officials had to eventually tighten security around the courthouse to access rules because of the crowds. Now, at one point, the courtroom tension increased when confidential material was briefly displayed to media cameras, prompting the judge to remind everyone involved that protecting the defendant's right to a fair trial remained essential. Now, here's where it got a little crazy. And I say crazy, it didn't. It was tough because you know why this is. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, was there. She attended portions of the hearing, and the family has publicly argued that much of the evidence should ultimately be made public in interest of transparency, and I get that. Now, the defense has pushed back, arguing widespread publication of certain evidence could prejudice future jurors. I get that. However, and I think that's where the broader conversation begins. Like, regardless of your politics, this case is going to matter. If someone is accused of murdering a public figure because of political beliefs, every American should care about this. And not because of party, because political violence has no place in a constitutional republic. Now, supposedly we settle our disagreements with debates, with elections, with speeches, with votes, not bullets. But here's the deal with that. And that's all fine and good in theory. The problem is with social media the way it is now, the hostility, all these echo chambers and gaslighting, you're going to run into these sorts of things. You're just going to. And you're going to get somebody who's going to be affected by this kind of rhetoric. To me, this is the great thing about the First Amendment and the potential side effects of the First Amendment. You're free to say whatever it is you want. But also, when you say those things, sometimes things like this will happen. And it's part of it, and you have to accept that. It's a horrible thing. I mean, because one of the cornerstones of our justice system is equally important. Every defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in court. That's not a loophole. It's not a technicality. That's one of the fundamental protections that separates a free society from an authoritarian one. And it's possible to believe both things at the same time. You can condemn political violence in the strongest possible terms and still insist on a fair trial. The trial should be fair. And this this happens all the time. We come across this all the time, more and more now. They're being brought to light, these unfair trials, political bias, not just political, but there's a bias regarding something in this trial. We see this all the time. Watch any of these lawyer videos on YouTube and you'll see it. But these principles shouldn't compete. They should reinforce one another. The preliminary hearing may be over, but the legal process, believe me, is far from finished. Because again, now the judge has to decide whether prosecutors have established probable cause for the case to proceed to trial. I believe it has. In spades, I mean, you've got him admitting he did it. You've got the text messages. You've got reliable witness testimony. You've got DNA. But what does this judge think? To me, politics has to end at the ballot box. The moment disagreements become violence, everybody loses. Because a free society depends on two things: the peaceful transfer of ideas and the fair administration of justice. And right now in America, we've lost sight of both of those things. We have. Because you don't defend democracy by shooting people you disagree with because they upset you. Because they said things you don't like. You know how you defend democracy? By proving your ideas are better. And it's that simple. It's absolutely that simple. But you don't do it by killing somebody, by taking somebody's husband, by taking their father, their friend, just because you disagreed. And take Tyler Robinson as a perfect example. Say somebody on the right disagreed with him being homosexual, being with a trans person, and thought, well, because you're this, you shouldn't have a right to continue breathing. That's horrible. No rational person thinks that way. And you would condemn that in the harshest possible terms, and you should. Just because someone might disagree with your way of life doesn't mean you take their life. It should never come down to that. Should never come down to that. It's wild to me. It is. It's a strange thing to me, folks. But there we go. Guys, I appreciate y'all tuning in once again to the FAFO podcast. We'll be back here on Wednesday. Like I said, Jen has surgery tomorrow, so there'll be no show on Tuesday. We'll be back here live Wednesday morning. Bazinga. Right here on Kick, on YouTube, on Facebook, streaming live. You want to be a part of the show? Join us. You want to be interviewed for the show? Message me. Let me know. We will set up the recording date. If you want to be live during the show, we can do that too. However you want to do it. Like I said, the FAFO podcast is for everybody. Come be a part of it. We'd love to have you here. Absolutely, we would love to have you here. Guys, you've been listening to the Fuck Around and Find Out podcast. Facts, truth, no BS. Let's effing go.
Four on the floor, have a tank of gas. Does he boots on the wood, let the whiskey pass? I ain't preaching from a pulpit, I'm talking from the scar. You can dress up a lie, but it won't get far. They call it toxic when it burns your tongue.